Hi everyone, welcome back to a new post today. And today let's continue with once again the topic of social issues, and today we will deal with violence against women. So violence against women is of different types, and we find the data with regard to violence against women is released by the National Crime Bureau at the center, which works under the Ministry of Home Affairs. And also we celebrate November 25th as an international day for elimination of violence against women. Sustainable Development Goal speaks of gender equality. Constitution speaks of protecting the dignity of women. Let's look at the violence against women, some important issues around it, and what does the data speak about. But before that, let's go into and see what are the different forms of violence against women that we see. So women of different countries, different state undergo different sets of violence or brutalities. So like killing, you have dowry deaths, you have bride deaths, honor killings, etc., female infanticide, etc. They go through a lot of sexual assault, violence, and disfigurement, like acid attack, female genital mutilation. Other issues like gaslighting, narcissistic abuse, domestic violence, forced marriages, forced pregnancies, forced sterilization, marriage by abduction, and trafficking, human trafficking, etc. So violence against women is a universal phenomena. They are seen as the vulnerable sections of the society, and we celebrate November 25th is celebrated as the International Day for Violence Against Elimination of Women. Violence against women is one of the most widespread and persisted and devastating human rights violations of women today, and there is mostly the problem with violence against women is it is largely unreported due to impunity, silence, stigma, and shame, especially with regard to respect of the family. And the declaration, especially the United Nations says that the declaration on the elimination of the violence against women was adopted by the United Nations General Assembly in 1993 and defines violence against women as any act of gender biased violence that results or is likely to result in physical, sexual, psychological harm or suffering of women, including threats of acts such as coercion or arbitrary deprivation of liberty, whether occurring in public or private life. And it was in 1993 that the United Nations General Assembly adopted declaration for elimination of violence against women, paving the path for eradicating the violence against women and girls worldwide. And India also celebrates this. There are various NGOs working for protection of women and against violence against women as well. There is the Unite campaign that is taken out as an initiative for activism, including the day that commemorates the International Day for Human Rights, that's December 10th. Sustainable Development Goal says that we should not leave anybody behind, and Sustainable Development Goals cannot be fulfilled without putting an end to violence against women and girls. There are various constitution provisions in India for protection of women. It not only grants equality to women but also empowers the state to adopt measures of positive discrimination against women and children under Article 15 to ease the cumulative barriers of socio-economic, education, and political disadvantages faced by them. They are mentioned in the first fundamental rights that the state shall not deny any person equality before law or equal protection of law, and this even applies to women. The state shall not discriminate against any citizen on the grounds of religion, race, caste, sex, which also includes gender, place of birth, or any other of them, which speaks about this in Article 16. So this also is against the discrimination of women. There shall be equality of opportunities for all citizens in matters of employment or appointment to any office, and this applies to women rights as well under Article 16. Directive principles of the state policy mention that the state shall direct all its policy towards securing to all citizens, both men and women, equally the right of adequate means of livelihood, and strive to ensure equal pay for equal work. The labor codes ensure that. The state also directs to make provisions for ensuring just and human conditions of work and maternity relief. And recently the maternity relief has been drafted into a statutory law, and therefore it is given to women especially in the public enterprises and the private enterprises as well. And above all, there is a fundamental duty that says that every citizen shall renounce practices derogatory to the dignity of women. And there are legislative measures also to counter the violence against women, especially the crimes which are directed specifically against women are characterized as crimes against women, and they are classified into two broad categories: crimes against women identified under the Indian Penal Code and crimes against women identified under special laws. Under Indian Penal Code, sexual assault is dealt in section 376. Kidnapping, abduction is different for different purposes from section 663 to 373 of the IPC. Homicide for dowry deaths or their attempts under section 302, 304B. Torture, both mental and physical, under section 498A of the IPC. Molestation under section 354 of the IPC. Sexual harassment under section 509, and importation of girls up to 21 years of age under section 366B of the IPC. Special laws for the violence against women are Commission of Sati Act 1987, the Dowry Prohibition Act of 1961, Indecent Representation of Women Act 1986, Immoral Traffic Act of 1956, Protection of Women Against Domestic Violence Act 2005, and Sexual Harassment of Women at the Workplace Prevention, Prohibition and Redressal Act 2030. Criminal Law Act of 2018. There is a specified statutory body called as the National Commission for Women with a specific mandate to study and monitor all the matters relating to constitutional legal safeguards provided to women and to review their working and suggest any amendments if necessary as well. At the state level also, we have the State Commission for Women. It has a statutory mandate. The NCW and the SCW have a mandate to look into complaints against various categories of violence and deprivation of women. There is many programs have been implemented by the Government of India, especially to protect women against violence. You have Mission Shakti is a scheme in the mission mode aimed at strengthening the interventions for women's safety, security and empowerment. It seeks to realize the government's commitment of women-led development. So half of the population cannot be left behind, especially now when government is furthering gender equality to achieve the goals of the Amrit Kal period. So Mission Shakti was released under the Atmanirbhar Bharat package, and it includes Sambal, safety and security of women, and Samarthya, that is empowerment of women. But it addresses issues affecting of women in the life cycle, continuum basis, and by making them equal partners in the nation building as well. And if you see shelter homes under Swadhar Grey scheme is being implemented by the Ministry of Women and Child Development. We have a dedicated ministry under the Ministry of Women and Child Development to look into the policies for the betterment of women and protection of women. The scheme caters to primary needs of women in difficult circumstances like women and girls rendered homeless due to family discord, crime, violence, mental stress or social ostracism, and if they are being forced into prostitution and are in danger. They are Saki, what is called as one-stop centers. The Ministry of Women and Child Development is implementing Saki or one-stop centers from 2050, and these provide a range of integrated services under one roof, including police facilitation, medical aid, legal aid, counseling, psychosocial counseling, temporary shelter to women affected by violence in distress. The setting up of one-stop centers onward at the district level have provided a dedicated platform to the women facing violence and who are in the distress. So as of 2022, recently in September, there are 733 one-stop centers that have been approved for 729 districts across the country, out of which 708 one-stop centers have been operationalized in 35 states and UTs, which have over 6.17 lakh women. We have Stree Mano Raksha, which is engaged in services of the National Institute of Mental Health Neurosciences, Bangalore, for providing basic and advanced training under the project named as the Stree Mano Raksha to staff of one-stop centers across the country on psychosocial and mental health care needs to support the women who are facing violence and women in distress. Let me tell you, COVID pandemic had another shadow pandemic where women were facing more violence as they stayed at home, and this was even noted by the WHO as well and the United Nations. So we have the Digital Shakti campaign as well. The National Commission for Women is implementing this campaign. It is a pan-India project aimed at digitally empowering the women and skilling the women, especially in cyberspace. In line with their commitment to create safe spaces for women and girls online, Digital Shakti is focused on making women digitally skilled and aware to stand up to illegal or inappropriate activity online. National Domestic Violence Helpline is also operational since 2015 with aim to provide emergency and non-emergency responses, including assistance of women facing any kind of violence or distress. And they have handled, at least up to March 2022, the data says that they have handled 68.70 lakh calls since its operationalization. The government is also implementing the emergency response support system under the Nirbhaya Fund, which is a single internationally recognized number 112 based on various emergencies such as police, fire, ambulance services with computer aided dispatch. It has been operationalized in all the 35 states and union territories. And you have a further helpline of the National Commission for Women, further to assist women facing domestic violence during the pandemic when the survivors were confined at their home with their abusers. A WhatsApp number was launched as an emergency response during the lockdown, and this was a care taken by the government even during the pandemic period. There is a scheme called as Ujjwala Yojana, or scheme which is implemented as a central sector program for prevention of trafficking, rescue, rehabilitation, reintegration and repatriation of the victims of trafficking for commercial sexual exploitation. Working Women Hostel scheme is being run by the government with the objective to provide safe and conveniently location accommodation for the working women, with also a daycare facility for the children wherever possible in urban, semi-urban and even in rural areas where employment opportunity for the women exists. Special courts are set up for offence against the women and children, and this is a centrally sponsored scheme since 2019 for setting up a fast-track dedicated courts so that the cases can be solved immediately and relief can be got to the victim, especially with related to Rape and Protection of Children for Sexual Violences Offences Act or the POSCO Act. Now this scheme is being implemented in 31 states and UTs from June 2022, and there are 408 POSCO courts that are made operational in 28 states and UTs. The IT initiative and other steps taken by the government to enhance the safety and security of women in India are the investigation tracking system of sexual offences. It is an analytical tool that is launched to monitor and track timely completion of police investigations in sexual assault. Further, the National Database for Sexual Offenders has been launched to identify repeated offenders relative to alerts and also sex offenders as well. There is a Crime Act, that is a Crime Multi-Agency Center being introduced in 2020 for the police stations for higher officers in the states and UTs to share the information on heinous crimes and other issues related to coordination in case of interstate crime. It is being used to send alerts and related information on crime in interstate criminals via SMS and email. And new citizen services had been launched by the National Crimes Records Bureau on its portal for relevant cases of crimes against women. These services include missing person search, help citizens to find their missing kin from the national database for recovered unidentified found persons or dead persons, cybercrime prevention against women. Cybercrime prevention against women and children is a key focus area for the government. The Ministry of Home Affairs has launched a portal called cybercrime.gov.in where citizens can report obscene content or expect it to be blocked within 72 hours. And the revamped portal has been launched in 2019 by the Ministry of Home Affairs. Safe City projects is being implemented in 8 cities, and this is funded by the Nirbhaya Fund. And Safe City projects in 8 cities are implemented in Ahmedabad, Bengaluru, Chennai, Delhi, Hyderabad, Kolkata, Lucknow and Mumbai. They are under implementation. They use technology for improving the safety of women and children in the country and in that place, and this includes using drones, installation of CCTV cameras to alert the police about the criminal and the criminal activity, technology enable infrastructure like smart lighting system that glow as soon as it gets dark to eliminate dark alleys and crime spots from the cities, and toilets for women that can be located on the Google Maps. Government of India has taken paramount importance for safety and security of women. As a result of the various steps taken by the government of India, women's safety, there has been a decline in the number of crimes and violence against women and girls, giving them a hope for a better future and also a safer country and a safer city to live at. So safety is definitely not only the government's responsibility, but it is your and my responsibility as well. And I hope this content was really helpful to you all, and if you did, please do like, share, subscribe, and please do not forget to comment, and I shall see you in my next post. Until then, very happy learning.